Welcome to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schippel.
And that is Steve Jones.
And Jens, today on the program, we're here. We're in this spot where we have live music back on the program, and it feels good.
It does. It really does. I'm hoping the live music is here to stay, and it's not just a teaser, and things will be back to, quarantining for another year. I don't want to get too excited, but I'm excited.
I know. We need it to last at least through Bottle Rock, right? Get a big festival out of the way, and just everybody just be safe and go get vaccinated. I mean, we don't need to get political, but just get freaking vaccinated. It's not a political thing. Okay. You went there.
It's not political. Just remember that. Not political. It's about your health.
It's looking out for not even your health, everybody around you.
Everyone else has it. Yeah, don't die and don't kill anyone.
Yes. We have Michelle Lambert on the program today. She's a great Bay Area talent, and she came to Napa to play Napa City Nights, the second night of it. It's every Friday night throughout the summer, and this was something that I love to do with the kids. I love to take them there, and we just hang out, and they run around and be kids, and I looked at the lineup, throughout the summer, a lot of artists I don't know, so I'll have to look into a lot of them, but Michelle's name stood out. And so I looked into her music and realized what a powerhouse she is. And she has so much energy in her performance. And I love some of the covers that she did of Oasis's Wonderwall. And she covered Adele's, Hello, among other things. She played an awesome cover at Napa City Nights, which we'll play at the end of the show. Not going to spoil that one right now, but we got a couple of live songs, and it was great to chat with Michelle. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But Jens, you and I spent like the whole weekend together.
We did. That was pretty epic. I think we made up for some lost time over the past year.
We've made some time, but we definitely haven't spent that much time together for a while. And
right.
It started out with a birthday party, and not your typical birthday party, but a dog's birthday party.
I know. I feel like this is totally ridiculous, and I'm gonna, make a fool out of myself by talking about this. But I have learned in the process that we're not alone for throwing a birthday party for a dog. And in fact, a lot of people do this kind of thing. Surprisingly many. And what I think what I think it's all about is it just comes down to finding an excuse to getting a bunch of people together and having a great time. Yeah. And it just happened to be our dog's 1-year birthday. And so that was the theme of the party that we had on Saturday. And we had quite a few people over. We set up the backyard. We got the awning down. We got a bunch of balloons, right? So our little dog Jaeger obviously has a theme. And the colors of Jaeger are appropriately green and orange. So we had green and orange balloons everywhere, and blue ones too for, being a boy. And or maybe that's just what the 3 colors were available in the pack at Amazon. I don't know.
Whatever works.
But it worked out that way, right? We had a cake that you picked up, I think, right?
I did. Yes.
Thank you so much for that. And I was looking at some of the pictures recently about this party, and there were quite a few things that were going on that I didn't even realize. Like, I was on the other side of the cake, and I didn't realize on the other side of the cake it said like "Happy Birthday, Jaeger."
You didn't realize there's writing on it or anything.
Didn't even know that. I know. No. Right. So we had a bunch of people. We kind of made it a wine guessing thing.
There was a wine guessing game where there were 7 bottles of wine that were numbered over the actual label on the wine, so you couldn't tell, and you had to taste them and be able to identify what the actual wine is. And that was particularly enjoyable for me, because I know damn well next to nothing about wine. And I was Googling the different types of red wines and white wines so that I could limit it down. And I know very basic about each one, but as far as a palate for wine, even having grown up in Napa, I didn't grow up on wine, right? This was just home, and so I just
I
had
do,
a
I
fun,
do, I do want to just interrupt you and just remind everyone listening that you do live in a freaking vineyard.
I do.
Like there's wine all around you.
There is. I don't go, you know, I mean, I think it's a Merlot. No, really. I think it's a Merlot on the property. It's definitely red. And, and so it's not my vineyard, and I don't know a lot about it. So, yeah. So I mean, it was a fun game. And I'm more competitive than I know about wine, right? And so I'm like really interested, and it was kind of spread out throughout the evening, the unveiling of the wines, but you write down what your guess on a paper, and what's fun is, which I found out later and I didn't realize, but you had a couple of friends from San Francisco who are big wine connoisseurs, and yeah, and one of them, I knew she was like guessing like the year and vintage and everything, and more specific on the types, but how far off she was remarkable for the fact that I'll let you tell it. How many wine bottles does this couple have in their home, Jens?
You know what? I thought when they said the number, I thought it was a joke. You know,
it's not a joke.
Just exaggerating, but it's not a joke. I don't remember. Was it 2,400 or?
It was 2,300.
2,300 bottles of wine,
and they're categorized in a spreadsheet that's it's numbered like B124, like it's freaking IKEA. You have to go to the aisle to know exactly where this. I mean, that is detailed. And for a couple,
you don't
of
have
drinks,
to put the wine together.
Right, that a couple that drinks wine 6 nights a week. I told him, I was like, I may have 1 or 2 bottles in my house. I didn't even have 1 bottle of wine in my house, but. So I'll get to the spoiler because I want to get to the second half of our weekend for that game. I won the challenge by getting half of the bottles correct.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So Mr. grew up in Napa, lives in a vineyard, knows next to nothing about wine other than there's a white wine and there's a red wine, and you can tell the difference because one isn't red and the other one isn't white, right? But in terms of like wineries and regions where they're growing, and the couple you mentioned was like, oh, this is from Lodi. It's 2014 Lodi. Da, da, da. I mean, they were so meticulous, right? And we had people that were that specific, and then we had people at the other end of the table that were just like, oh, I don't know, just give me more wine. You know,
as long as I like
celebrate.
it.
As long as I like it, yeah, I'll drink it. And I think I only got 1 right because of the shape and weight of the bottle. I knew that, oh my God, I know this is my favorite wine. This is Zinfandel. Okay, I know I'm gonna get 1 right. But yeah, you got the most right out of anyone by sheer luck. And I think what you had to your advantage is you kept it simple, right? You didn't blurt out these crazy varietals that we didn't have. You stuck with the basics and you got lucky, and that was the
but
big
still
takeaway.
There's 6 sides to a dice, right? I mean, you're gonna roll a dice, and there's still different options between Cab and Merlot and Zin and all of that, right? So there's a good chance I wasn't going to get it right, but I did get half of them.
But you did. Yeah, that was hilarious. Everybody got a really huge kick out of it. But back to the 2,300 bottles of wine. Like, I've got questions.
Yeah.
Where do you store all that wine?
So they said some upstairs and most down in the basement. But they have
basement.
And so I asked them so many questions. I was like interviewing them about this because I'm like, this is gnarly. I've never heard of this, right? And they're like, we're going to hand it down to our niece and nephew. And I'm like, okay, so it's in the will. I mean, obviously. But this is. But I'm like, okay, so the white wines, where do you store those? Do you have like a walk-in refrigerator in your house or something? And he's like, no, but we have 2 refrigerators, a smaller one and a bigger one and whatever. And I'm just so enamored by the story. It's such a story here for just a couple that enjoys wine, and
just a couple that enjoys wine, and they've obviously done a lot of wine tasting, and they love that kind of thing. I've been to their place once or twice, and I remember, these wine fridges, these cool wine fridges. You can see all the wine bottles, through the glass. But I had no idea that place was stocked with so much wine. So I was scratching my head like, these aren't cheap wine drinkers. I mean, every bottle of wine here, unless it's a gift, that they didn't pay for, they shelled out some serious cash. And it's like you could buy a really, really nice car for the amount of money.
Well, we estimated
or
upwards of $100,000. Yeah.
Yeah, put a down payment on a house, maybe, depending on where you live, condo. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know if I was in their shoes and I loved wine that much. I think I get to some point in my life where I really would feel like the clock is ticking, and I wouldn't want to lose $100,000, and I'd start drinking like crazy.
All I could think of when they're like, we're going to hand it down to our niece and nephew. I didn't ask ages or anything, but I'm like, this is going to be a really big college party, is what happens here.
Totally. Huge college party. Maybe these are specific wines that appreciate. I don't know.
I don't know how long wine lasts like that, but
that'd be hilarious.
It was entertaining. And so that takes us to the second part of the weekend, really. I mean, that was a fun party. And during it, throughout the evening, we had, I don't know, somehow crabbing had come up, and how I'd gone crabbing a couple weeks ago. And
because it was an oyster fest. We had like, I don't know, like 100 oysters or something. I don't know how many.
A lot.
There were a lot of oysters, and my wife's brother had a connection where he was able to bring in all these oysters for like crazy cheap.
Yeah.
So it just happened to be, a great deal. Everyone there loved oysters, except you.
I had one.
I hate oysters. I
did have
crab.
One. There's so much food and drinks and desserts and everything, and I made chocolate covered peanut butter balls and
oh my god, around. And those were so decadent. They're delicious. You know what? I just remembered the chocolate peanut butter balls, and right before, like half an hour before we got together now to record this podcast, and it was so hard for me to resist. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait till the end of the show. Okay. But I've been like, I'm obsessing on this thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna devour it in like 30 seconds later.
Definitely do it. But so it got to crabbing, and somehow we brought up that, okay, we can go out tomorrow, the next day, to go crabbing at Bodega. And I'm like, sure, okay, I don't have anything really planned. Let's do it. And so I go home, I go to sleep. 2 a.m. I wake up, and like I do not drink a lot of wine. I'm more of a beer guy. And so it did not sit well in me, and I've never thrown up from drinking, but I tried to make myself throw up because it just was my stomach was lurching, and and I couldn't. And so after an hour and a half of being awake, I texted you. I was like, I don't think it's gonna work, man. But I'm not a quitter. I don't like to flake. I didn't have your friends' family's phone numbers either, and I didn't want to inconvenience them. They'd be on the road relatively early and all of that. So I'm like, I got another hour of sleep, and I shook it off, hopped on the Peloton, and got out. We went out crabbing at Bodega Bay, right?
Yeah. You got there early to secure the spot and jumped in the kayak, and you put the kayak on the car before you went to bed, got everything ready like a champ. And I got your text messages, I think 20 minutes before you even got
before
there.
I was even there.
So I didn't even know what was going on with you. Yeah, I know. Like, oh my God, Steve, shit, no. Like, no.
Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah.
Are you sure?
Away, so
exactly, right. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I guess this is happening. But it totally worked out, and we got there, I don't know, 9:30ish or something. And time flew by like crazy. I mean, before we knew it was 1 o'clock and time to pack up and go. And everyone loved the experience. I mean, my wife and our friends that were at the dog party, their 2 kids really had a great time. They'd never been crabbing before. They didn't really know what to expect. And it's not like any of us except for you did the crabbing. I mean, we were all in the parking lot, which was sort of on a cliff. And we were cheering me on, like,
you were doing a great
paddling. Job. Yeah, we were all cheering you on. We're like, Steve, woo, get the when we get the buoy, Steve, you're drifting, and you're like, going.
I drifted like over 100 yards at one point probably, and I didn't even really realize how far I drifted, but then I was like, okay, this is a good spot to drop it next. So
exactly, it's hilarious because your 3 buoys were just hanging out, in the beginning in one spot, and then the next minute, they're like way down here,
20 degrees to the left. Yeah.
It's just because the current or whatever, the wind was pushing you down. But they had a fabulous time. I mean, seriously, even especially the kids, they were really into looking at the crabs and checking them out, and we basically gave our friends all of the crabs to take home.
Yeah, well, I gave it to you guys to split up however you want. I only brought one home myself, but it was more, it was fun for me to. I always enjoy getting out. I love being outdoors. I'd rather do that than anything, right? And it was better than what I was going to do sitting around home cleaning and everything. So, so I'm happy, and it was fun to teach you guys about it too, even if you weren't actively doing it. I had one kayak, and wasn't going to bring 2, and and it was more. It's just as much about hanging out and the experience, and so. For me to give you guys the crabs was great, and and we brought I brought in 13 that we kept, and some others that we didn't. We threw back, like a couple of Dungeness. It wasn't Dungeness season, so we threw the Dungeness back. And then I don't think you even saw it because you were down helping clean up the gear at the end, and thank you for doing that. But I actually caught a pregnant crab.
No way.
Where you could see the sack beneath it, and I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing, and I threw it back from the levee. I threw that pregnant bitch was flying, I'll tell you. So.
I remember hearing the splash. Because we were taking down all the cages and wrapping up the buoys and everything, and then I heard the splash, and I just commented, oh, I guess Steve had to throw one away. Throw one back in. But another thing, I think one of the things that was new to me about crabbing, I got the general concept, but I'd never seen the bait before. I mean, that's some pretty big bait. Those squids.
Yeah, using squid and anchovy, and it works, and I just like to leave them out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and check them, and then move them around a little bit, and then give it another 2 hours or so, and then check them again, and another little time, and pull them in, and what you get, and and it was a fun experience for you.
It really was fun, and it was so social too. I guess I hadn't really realized how social crabbing can be. It's not like duck hunting where you should be really quiet, don't say anything, don't scare the ducks. But no, you were popping open the beers at 9:30 in the morning,
I mean, I didn't have one till noon, but
I had to convince you to keep drinking so you wouldn't get sicker. But
that's how it works.
That's how it works. But I think when we go next time, maybe next season, what I would do differently is bring more like breakfasty stuff, like maybe tea or coffee or breakfast food.
I always get the kids donuts. It helps entice them to come out, and everything. So
donuts are good. Maybe bring a little portable grill or something.
And the good thing about rock crab, the good thing about rock crab is that they're year round, actually. So you can go anytime, and get rock crab. But Dungeness have a set season. So
interesting. Didn't know that. I thought it was just like this is the season for crab, no matter what you get.
Nope. That's it. Nope. So. Yeah, so it was a good weekend. I think we should bring in our guest, Jens. But,
let's do that.
But we'll start it with a little bit of music. Like I said, live music is back. I'm so excited. This is from Napa City Nights. Michelle Lambert played a bunch of original songs, and she is amazing on the violin. So check this out on our YouTube page or on Facebook, for video of the live performance, because we'll play the audio here, obviously in the podcast format, but to see her, on the violin is incredible. We're going to start with a song of hers called "The Hunt," and then we'll get into the interview. Here it is.
Bring it on.
One right here called "The Hunt." we won't fall out tonight. All I wanna do is feel love, but you're down to the sunrise. Wanna see you look at me, your eyes all over me, and you hold my ecstasy. See me from my misery, show me what you got for me. There's burning hot in me, and I know you want the key to end my misery. You're like the rain, oh, pouring over me, yeah. Oh, you're like the wind, you know you set me free. Oh, hey, let's take a chance, you know let hands run away. Oh, this mad romance, I will never betray. That's gonna be about the chase. Where we go, there is no escape. You wanna say this one on a taste? Baby, give in to my embrace. Wanna see you look at me, see your eyes all over me, and you hold my ecstasy. See me from my misery, show me what you got for me. There's burning hot in me, and I know you want the key to end my misery. You're like the rain, oh, pouring over me, yeah. Oh, you're like the wind, you know you set me free. Oh, hey, let's take a chance, you know let's run away. Oh, this mad romance, I will never betray. To me, baby, all I want is more. You're the one that I adore. Giving you the feeling you just can't ignore. I'm the one you're crying for. When I see you look at me, your eyes all over me, and you hold my ecstasy. See me from my misery, show me what you got for me. There's burning hot in me, and I know you want the key to end my misery. You're like the rain, and I'm pouring over me, yeah. Oh, you're like the wind, you know you set me free. Oh, hey, let's take a chance, you know let's run away. Oh, this mad romance, I will never betray.
So Michelle, thank you for taking the time.
Yes,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to Napa City Nights tonight. Have you done a lot of shows in Napa?
I have, yeah, I've been performing there off and on for the last 4 years or so, 4 or 5, no, 3 or 4 years now. So it's been, yeah, it's been a great experience, great people, a lot of music lovers. So it's been cool to kind of build up a grassroots fan base there. And there's a lot of great venues to perform at as well. So yeah, it's one of my favorite spots to perform. It's so beautiful too. It's the valley and just, you know, the nature. You have a beautiful backdrop there. I know, much more serene than mine here. So it's lovely.
Thank you. What part of the Bay are you in?
At the East Bay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Nice.
yeah, it's been a good location. It's great for I do a lot of traveling, so it's nice to get to a lot of different locations. And yeah, it's a great place to call home. I really enjoyed over here.
Yeah, and you've lived in different areas. You've lived in LA, Nashville, right? Like what brought you to the Bay?
So I ended up in the Bay Area because of like you said, I'm originally from California. I'm born and raised up in Mendocino County, and just as a child there. And then when I went off to college, I went to Berkeley in Boston. So I crossed the country and I was excited to, experience another part of the States and everything. And after graduating, I was in Nashville for another 4 years or so. Kind of, I say Berkeley, I got my education. Nashville, I got my true education. So it was a fantastic place to really get the experience, the writing, get, kind of learn from the best. And that was awesome for that. And then after diving in as like an artist and singer-songwriter versus just kind of making a living and learning as much as I possibly could, that's when I started moving around a bit more. I was in LA for about a year, and then I was in Denver for a bit as well. Filmed Warrior, the music video there. And then I was touring out of the kind of the East Coast down in Miami. And so from that area, I wrote that song, My California, which is kind of one of my classic, I love song for California. And so I wrote that song missing it. It had been like, 10 years or so being out of California. So I have just missed my home state. And so
it was like a coming home anthem, right?
What's that?
It was like a coming home anthem, right?
Exactly. And it was so funny because the song opened up all these doors because it's, California based, I think California themed. It was because I had no plans to relocate on the West Coast. Things were going well, and it was kind of, if anything, looking more towards the East Coast, the New York side of things. And it was a quick, you could do runs along the East Coast there. And then the song My California came out, and it just opened all these doors on from the Bay Area to kind of the festival scene and all that. And so I was super happy. It was great to be back home, and it's been a great experience just, working the tour routes here and just performing a ton. So yeah, it was very serendipitous, and that's a long answer for your for your question there.
It's good. You gave me a lot to break into. So let's start with the festival scene. Like what festival did you enjoy the most? What was your most memorable experience there?
Out of all the festivals, I really enjoyed performing in Mammoth Lakes at the, I'm forgetting the exact title of it. It's the one they do annually, and I did it a couple years. It's the Mammoth Lakes Summer Jam, and it's just like a great lineup, and it's just right in the middle of kind of, you'd go through Yosemite to get there, and it's just this beautiful place, and people are there just to hear music and to have a great time. So that was one that really stands out in my head. I really loved playing the Bodega Seafood Art and Wine and Music Festival. That was one that was really cool as well. Just seeing a lot of friends and fans come out there and everything. And yeah, another great one was the Catalina Island Wine Mixer, which is down in Catalina Island. And that was like just tons of people there. And it was just so much fun. And they were really into the music. So yeah, those are a few that pop out in my head that were just a lot of fun, but it's hard to choose, it's there's always memories you take from all of them that are super cool.
Yeah, you mentioned spending time in Denver. I imagine you went to Red Rocks a handful of times.
I haven't been. I've of course drooled over the stage and everything from afar, but
that's a crime.
I would love to perform there someday. That's like on a bucket list. And I've seen YouTube videos and stuff of people performing there. It's just so beautiful and so cool, so that's, yeah, I would definitely, it's a dream of mine to have that gig someday.
Yeah, I went out there a couple of years ago because I talked to so many bands, that just, and Red Rocks just keeps coming up, right? Is this place that's magical and, and everything. And so I was like, I need to go there. I don't care even what the show is. I ended up seeing Weird Al and the Colorado Symphony there, which is
that's cool.
Pretty cool. So
that's really cool. A friend of mine actually, he's the head of the symphony, like organizes everything, and keeps posting photos. So I think I even saw some of the behind the scenes photos. I'm like, that's so cool. It's cool to see the two genres coming together, with like kind of mainstream to like the classical. It's really interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. So you were born with a violin in your hands, right? like I mean tell me how you got your start so early. I mean, it sounds like you have a musical family that I mean, the violin is a part of your family's, like, you just like their tribe, right? I guess.
Yeah, it was a funny thing because we had all these small violins, like I think the smallest one was like a 1/16 size, which just kind of almost looks like a toy, and it doesn't sound much better than a toy, I don't think, but it's this little tiny violin and with a little tiny bow. And then all the sizes were there from my older siblings, and I was very, very young. I would go off to violin lessons with them because I was the youngest, but I was just there with my mom just watching or whatever. And so I was like around 2 years old. I was probably doing this since I was born though, just, going there on her lap or whatever. And so I was just super jealous because I didn't get to play the violin and they got to go and do this. And I was just feeling left out. So at one point, I guess I grabbed that smallest violin and I like marched out the door and like, I am taking violin lessons. And so it was kind of just a competitive slash, I don't know, it was just kind of a funny story. I don't even remember this. I was so young that I'm like, I love the story, but I don't even have the honor of like remembering it. And luckily the teacher that I had was like really good with young students. And so she was like, okay, let's start her out and see how she does. And, it was just kind of a like, let's see how it goes. And it was something that I was super got into really fast. And having her guide me was like the key to all that. So
Yeah. And what did you learn from your siblings in terms of violin?
I think like it was very good to have motivation at home because you're not the only one. So when you're like, hey, you need to practice, and if it's just you, you're like, oh, I don't, you can talk yourself out of it or whatever. But when you have your siblings doing it, you're like, it's just part of your life. You're always like, oh, it's something you're gonna do, and it's just built into your home life, which made it just very easy. I didn't think about, oh, do I want to do this? It was just something I did. And I think that's what was so easy to grow quickly and to be serious about it and to not, fight the discipline on it, just to go and dive in with both feet.
Yeah. And then not too long later, I mean, you started playing the piano. Like, I mean, was that kind of out of your passion? Did your parents drive that?
That was, I think after the violin, I got very curious about music. It was something that it was just learning that young, you can pick up things very quickly at that age. So you don't think about why too much, you just kind of go for it. And so there was another really lucky teacher in this. I grew up in a town of like 1,800 people. So I always look back, I'm like, how were all these cool people in this like little tiny town? So, but there was another teacher that was like a Juilliard educated singer, pianist. And she was there kind of in town giving some lessons and semi-retired from, professional life with music. And she was teaching like vocals and choir and things like that. So I got into it first with like some choir, joining one of the local choir groups, and then got into actual singing lessons after that. And then from that, I got into piano too. It was, I think, a little bit of the same thing of like, hey, they're taking piano, I want to take piano, just kind of get into what your fellow, people your age are doing and stuff like that. So, and then that was fun. That was like the beginning of being able to write a song. So that was kind of the opening the door early. I was still like early, like young at like 5. I don't think I tried to write a song until I was like in double digits. And the first ones were pretty so-so, but to get the bug to actually, want to write and to create and stuff like that, tell the story.
Do you feel like you found your voice pretty naturally? Like, I mean, did it come naturally, the singing part, and also the songwriting part as well? Like, how did you latch onto that? Were you like, yes, I love writing? And I mean, tell me how that kind of came together for you.
Yeah, the writing, like it was, I think I've always been a very emotionally charged person. So it was a way to like put that somewhere, and to like, when you have those feelings, to go write it down and sing and whatever, put the chords under it, and pretty soon you got a song. And it's a little easier on you to have that avenue to put your emotions instead of, some of the other things that you can do. So that was something that I really was happy and really relieved to have this area or whatever. And I had a nice songwriting kind of mentor as well, which was someone that was never, I got the real honest, like, hey, this is good, hey, this is not so good. So I got a lot of truths early on. So I would be very picky with my writing then, and go like, I want it to be good. I want it to be liked on a a larger form, not just just an emotional thing to pour out, and that's it. So that was that. And as far as like vocals go, I studied classical, and so it's a very different kind of singing than like pop music. So it was good, like from all the classical that I have perfect pitch, I have all these things that are like tools that came from, I think, the young start and everything. But I think in some ways, like I studied vocals at Berkeley, and I think from some ways I'm always trying to unlearn things that I've learned, so you can just let it go and be raw, because like my favorite singers are very raw, like Liam Gallagher from Oasis, where it's just like you feel that your hair is like standing up, and it's just a whole nother thing. I love like Amy Winehouse is another one, and these people that just have that raw, and just like, oh, that's what I'm going for. So I'm always trying to like get out of my head, and you know, once you learn your tools, then you can let them go, I feel like, and that's when you can break the rules. So that's something I'm always trying to get to, that moment of just you let go and let it be. So which is funny. It's like the flip side of the education. Sometimes you just want to let some of it go.
Yeah. What would you say you took away from Berkeley though that you were able to apply to your professional career of making music? Like
Berkeley was like, it was the first time of like being an adult, being out of my comfort zone, being far from, I didn't know a soul. So it was just, and it was like, it was the adventure I was looking for. I was very kind of used to my boundaries and everything in California. So I was just so looking forward to that. And it was good to kind of get a lot of reality checks of how, you know, how the real world can be. You're thrown in there about, it's fairly small. It's like 5,000 students, and but very competitive and very just like full of music constantly. So your workload is like high. I thought it was going to be a lot of creative time, but no, your workload is like very high for getting your regular basic education for music. Some of it I had and like tested out, but then you have to still get the same credit. So you're just you're constantly, like, I learned a bunch of the solfege. I learned just kind of a bunch of things that I hadn't even planned on, but it was something that you need these credits to get in. So I think Berkeley was just like a coming of an adulthood, and just I'm always going back in this day or that day, like, oh wow, that's what they meant. At one of the teachers had said this, that's what they meant, but you need the real world experience to make it actually connect to your life. So it's a very good school. It's a very very good school to prepare you for the world of music, I think, you know.
yeah. At what point did Captain Wolf Band come about? What was that experience like for you?
That was that was such a kind of a fun introduction. There was this thing called the Berkeley Gig Board. So this is where you can go find work, and people can post that they want, hey, they want a singer, they want this or that. And so he was looking for, I think, a singer and maybe a violinist. And I was like, sweet, I can hit both of these with one stone. So I was like, that'll give me an edge. And so then went into the audition, and it's this retired ship captain. And I think he was retired at that time, and he was one of those, he would drive those like huge boats and internationally and everything. So, and he just loved music, and he would write some music, and it was just something that was like his passion when you know, I think he had worked really hard throughout his life. So this is his passion of like, that's what he enjoyed doing off the clock. So there was a bunch of us from Berkeley that were in this group, and it was for me, it was like the first time I met a bunch of friends outside of school that we kind of had this connection. So it was almost like creating a family. And so yeah, Captain Wolf, that's John Nicole. He's a great guy, and it really created this awesome atmosphere. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So one of your biggest, or I guess proudest moments is, I guess, that you got to perform at the NCAA Women's Final. Like, tell me about that experience. What was that like? And just having, I mean, what I read was 18,000 people just like really
Yeah.
your music, right?
No, I mean, that's like the dream, right? Is getting in front of this huge audience. And then like all of a sudden when it happens, you're like, whoa, I have to hold up on my end of the, you know, this is what I wanted, this is what you asked for. And all of a sudden you're like, you have it. Now you have to prove yourself to those people. And so it was so exciting. And I was like totally ready to dive into it and everything. And I had invited a bunch of my friends and stuff. I had like a box to invite friends out and everything. And so I invited my mentor, Reggie Wooten, and he's of the Wooten brothers. And so he was there, and he's literally painted on the side of the Bridgestone Arena as one of the legends of town. So I was like, I remember walking, I was like, this is so like surreal to know that he's there watching. But then in the back of my head, I was like, oh man, if I don't do a good job, this is gonna be in front of, witnessed by all this. So I was like, oh my gosh. And it's like, it's a sports event. So it's all about sports fans. And I'm there waiting for my time to go on, and there's these cheerleaders that are doing these like stunning, you know, all these backflips and all this, and they're not even getting like barely any applause. And I'm like, that was like a moment of like, okay, you're gonna have to work for this. And so I get out there, and I just like I would just perform, put my whole heart and soul into it, and just like give it my all. And then at the end, I'm like, come on, and I like get them, and then I get them on their feet, and they're into it. But I remember thinking, I was like, all right, this is it. And it was a very, very cool moment of like proving that, hey, you just need to give it all you got. And it was a really cool experience.
And you didn't have to do any backflips, right?
I didn't have to do it.
So
You
that's
wouldn't want
good.
to see me do a backflip. I wouldn't make it halfway over. So
It wouldn't be pretty, no. I feel you. Tell me a little bit about the Girl on Fire and how you brought that, to vision for the music video. I mean, that was the first thing I saw of yours, and I'm like, wow, you have great presence and confidence, and I mean, it's a powerful song, and I see a lot of what you do is kind of trying to inspire women and girls, and kind of speak for that group, right?
Yeah, totally. I think it's because I'm the youngest of the bunch of brothers is why that came into my life. But
Makes sense.
so yeah, the song was born. It was kind of like my first single that I put out was I'm Just a Girl. And it kind of felt like a sequel, just it was another girl themed, like, instead of being that's like, who am I to touch the sky? I'm just a girl who wanted the whole world. So this is like all right, the next level of that, that confidence of, hey, go and do what you want, go and go for it. And so yeah, the song was fun. It was like I wanted to bring in some of the classical violin from my childhood too. So I have like the intro and the ending are this kind of violin hook that I wrote for it. And that was a lot of fun, especially within the video, having the dancer. He's like this classically trained dancer. He's just amazing. And I was super digging this like Sia vibes on that. But yeah, the song just came out. It was just writing about life and just those moments in your life that, it's kind of like autobiographical, and just those struggles and those goals that you're going for, and just kind of thought and rap, spoken word, just flowing very quickly. So it was one that I wrote very fast. It really came out quickly. And then as far as the video goes, I got to work with this Brazilian videographer, and he was great at bringing a bunch of the ideas that I had in my head into reality, which is cool, and got to film it in San Jose. So that was just a fun moment. I hadn't done like an official video like with in person. I had done lyric videos since Warrior, and that was like quite a while before. So I was like dying to get this video out. And it was fun. I had my California, I don't know, it's a California brand, and I had met them at one of the fairs that I perform over on Calaveras County. So I had all these things come together that just felt like a really cool, proud moment of it just felt right for the video and right for the song. So yeah, that one and I'm excited to, well, I think it's like 50 something thousand views right now. So it's been holding strong and everything. So I'm so happy you liked it though. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, do you bring a lot of that kind of energy into your live performances as well? It's been a while since we've had live shows, right? So
I know, yeah. Especially when I hit like a stage, if I'm on a stage, I want people to have a good time. Like my job is to connect with them, and I want to show that I'm there for them, and I want to give my heart, and give my all. So that's something that is like I love. I think also coming from the classical world, I saw so many like amazing musicians as a kid, but it was always like trying not to fall asleep because I was a little kid and it was late or whatever. So, and I, not appreciating fully, but it was also something that, man, all I wanted to do was have movement from, have something where you're just really, really giving the energy out there. And so, yeah, I love to just, throw that stage presence out there. And I don't do it like any choreography per se, but just all the shows, all the experience kind of adds up, and you start doing your own thing with movement and stuff like that. Especially with the violin, it's fun. I like to have the hair down and have it going a little crazy and everything. So
yeah, I could ask your favorite concert, but more so I'm interested in who's your favorite live performer that you've seen. Like, I mean, because again, I think you have that stage presence ability.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. I haven't seen him live, but I really love Ed Sheeran and I've seen a lot of his YouTube. I haven't had the chance to be free when he's touring in the area. That's when I really love just able to do everything from a one-man stance and just bringing in all the looping, and just I feel like even just when he's just playing him and his guitar, he just has so much power from such a normal place. There's no huge lights, there's no fire, there's none of all this, and it's very interesting that he can just I think it's like so captivating. Man, I'm trying to think of concerts. It's been so long. It feels like so long because of COVID. I'm like, where's the last concert that I saw?
Oh, I know. I miss him so much.
I know, seriously. But I'll have to think on that one. Maybe get back to you.
Sure, fair enough. But Ed Sheeran, I mean, you've covered an Ed Sheeran song, you've covered Adele, Oasis, you've done a lot of different covers. Tell me, kind of when you go in to do a cover, how do you approach it? How do you kind of pay that respect to the original song, but also make it your own at the same time?
Yeah. So like covers, I would be like, I feel like the worst actress ever, because I can't do it unless I connect with it. I can't grab and just it's just something I don't have the ability, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like it's something that like I will always connect with usually the originals the most, just because I have that connection already. And then usually the covers it has to be an influence, it has to be something that I'm like I can feel it, or it's something that is a strong connection. So like I said, like Liam Gallagher, like his voice, I'm like I want to copy in my own voice his voice, or copy that thing about it, try to learn from his, what he does so well. Same with like Amy Winehouse. She's one that I love too. I do a couple of hers, and another one I love too. And Cranberries, the same thing. I love. I know those are two different voices, but the airiness of like, I'm forgetting the lead singer's name. But she's got such a cool voice. What's that?
What's her? I was trying to pull her name. Why did I just blank on it
and
as
she
well?
just passed away too. It was so like I'm just losing too many good people.
Yeah.
But that's another. And then I love like even Adam Levine's voice from Maroon 5. He's one that he's always consistently like awesome, and it's just got a nice emotional balance and everything. So usually I will know, like if I'm covering at home, if I'm trying, sometimes I'll like get a song and start learning. I'm like, I love the song, but I'm not going to do it justice, or it's not going to be the right fit or whatever. So there's always that as well. And sometimes it'll be a song that I didn't expect to be, the one that I would love to perform, that just hits the moment of like, oh, that's I'm feeling it for the live show. So but
yeah. And Warrior was your first EP, right?
Warrior's my first EP, exactly.
Yeah. So how did you approach that, kind of going in? Did you have the songs, planned when you went into the studio? Did you, what was your take, and tell me kind of who you worked with to make that happen?
Yeah, that one was recorded between Nashville, Atlanta, and LA. And I had most of the songs ready. A few of them I wrote like kind of in the studio, or finished them off or wrapped them up. And so that was a fun, since I was kind of wrapping up my time in Nashville at that moment, it was a fun time to get to work with some people that I wanted to work with. Like that's Devil Wind Out of Georgia's one of the extra tracks on there. I got to bring in Reggie Wooten on the guitar, which I'm hoping to work with again in the future. Would be amazing, because he's just such an incredible talent. And got to work with a Grammy winner, Shannon Sanders, for a couple of the songs on there, and he did the production and stuff like that. And so it was kind of, I've been building up wanting to do this EP for so long, because I had been just kind of working on surviving and just learning and just playing so many shows, and without the plan to actually go for it as an artist yet. So when I had that moment, I was like, finally, it's here. So it was so much fun making that album. Warrior was one of my favorite tracks on there. I'm Just a Girl was another one, and that was pretty much my own production, and that's one of the ones that's actually lasted this long. So it made me feel really good of like, okay, my production is holding tight with a Grammy nominated guy. So it was fun to bring all that together, and just it's like creating art with all these layers and everything, and seeing how it comes to life. So that was exciting. I look back at that time as a very special time.
Yeah. And what did you learn and kind of take away that you wanted to bring into when you did the Angels EP?
Angel was like a very raw, like very emotional EP where it was just way less bells and whistles and more about the song and the rawness of it. And it was fun to go because the Warrior was very produced and very pop and very kind of in that area. And that was like that was very fun for that time. And then Angel was like break it down, just kind of go more intimate and go more raw and everything like that. So that was a very cool one to do, and just to let all that, you know, the songs were much more, I think, personal too. So it was more about the song and less about the production. And so yeah, that was a very very fun learning experience, and it's one that like I still really like that album quite a bit. It's very close to my heart, or that EP I should say. And yeah.
Did you record it in the Bay Area? I know you moved to the Bay Area around that time.
No, that was actually recorded in Miami. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, I'm just rambling.
It's all good. Yeah, so I want to ask you about some of your world travels too, because I know you had a chance to tour Malaysia. Start there. Like, tell me about that. What was that experience like?
That was super exciting. I went overseas and toured with a cool group of people and everything, and ended up in Miri in Malaysia at this music festival. And it was just a very event. Everyone there was ready to hear music, or they were having they were very excited about the concert and everything. And there was some workshops and stuff as well. And never been treated. It was like being treated like royalty. Everything, the food, the plate, the table would be like completely full of all of their like best dishes and everything. And I love food, and I was trying like all the different foods. Everyone was just super nice, and it was like such a like a vacation but working, because it was just like, man, it was just a dream to have everybody, you know, so into the music and so into, I think I got so many more followers on social media and everything. So it was just a super wonderful experience. I hope to go back someday.
What was your favorite Malaysian dish that you had there?
I wouldn't remember the names, but the one thing that I remember I was surprised by that was so good was their coffee was like to die for. It was like it was these little small coffees that were like already sweet and stuff. And so I love coffee. I love desserts too. So I had like one, and I'd be like, oh, let me have another, but it's pretty strong. So pretty soon I'm like, I'm gonna have a heart attack because I'm high on all this Malaysian coffee is just getting to me. I actually took some beans home and everything, but it was really, that was one of my favorite things. But yeah, it was wonderful. I hope to go back, and yeah, good people, good times.
That's awesome. In Scotland, you learned violin. You studied violin, at least in Scotland. What did you take away from there?
Scotland was super cool. I was like young teenager at that point, so I was pretty young. And I went over there with my sister, and it was to study at the Isle of Skye Scottish fiddle camp, where they have everything from fiddle, violin, obviously, to like Gaelic singing, and to learn the bora and the drum, and to learn the dancing, and just a lot of different instruments. And so I think guitar as well. I didn't do any guitar there, but so it was just such a great experience learning these different kinds of, you know, all the Scottish Celtic vibes and everything. I think they had teachers from Ireland as well, Cape Breton, and Wales, and the top of, I'm trying to remember, one of the top bits of Scotland as well. So it was just a really, really great set of teachers, and such a great experience. And I was like, it was so easy to make friends. I was kind of nervous. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be totally in another, you know, different culture. But it was like, you'd make friends in 5 minutes, no matter where you went to. They were just super nice, super cool. And so, yeah, if you ever want to visit somewhere, go to Scotland. They're the coolest people.
Yeah, I want to get out there. I've actually never left the country as an adult.
Really?
Yeah. And I just got my passport at the beginning of COVID. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'll go somewhere. And then COVID. So it might be a little while, but I'm going to, you know, make it happen. But Scotland, you know, Scotland, Ireland over there. Like I want to go somewhere where it's green, I think, you know, Australia. Yeah. We don't have a lot of green around here. So
yeah, I feel
so
you.
It's on my list, but also, you know, having good music is important too. So that would be
totally. I think we had like 2 green months or 2 green weeks this year. It was way
You
too
blinked,
fast.
right? So
Yeah, it was so pretty. And then I mean, I love the golden mountains is very pretty, but then after the fire season, you're just worried about it constantly. So,
it can get
but
bad for sure.
knock on wood.
Yeah. Speaking of fire, you have done fire breathing in your live performances. Yeah, tangent there, but tell me about that. What is that? How did you get into that? And is it going to happen tonight?
I got into that with a friend of mine, and she had kind of she was a little pyrotechnic, and she was out of Nashville, so she had designed this like clip to go on the end of the bow, and so she's like, here, try this out, but she hadn't used it yet, so I think I was the first one to kind of, and I think it's the crazy NorCal girl in me. I was like, absolutely. So and then I had learned how to breathe fire as a kid from my older brothers. That's what happens when you have bad influence for older siblings. But and so yeah, for a minute there I would do this, like light the throwaway bow on fire, and then like breathe fire into it, so it just would make this huge flame or whatever. So but it was fun. I did that in Malaysia, I did that in Nashville a few times, and but it's a little dangerous, and it's, you know, something that you got to be careful. So once I had to get insured for between the gear and everything, it was like not worth it, and I was like, yeah, it's probably a sign that maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore. So but yeah,
Imagine.
there's a few photos out there that are pretty cool with it.
You know, you don't get that at a lot of concerts, I'll tell you. So
Yeah.
unless it's a Metallica show where there's flames on the stage, but I haven't seen a lot of performers actually, you know, musicians doing fire breathing at the same time. So it's a
Yeah.
pretty unique skill to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing at the Grand Ole Opry, and so I knew this videographer. He's like, you gotta bring the fire, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna let me. I don't want to start off on a bad foot with that big of a, you know, organization. So so they asked, and they're like, no. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this. But I just, yeah, I remember I started to see the signs that maybe this isn't a good idea, even though it was very fun, it was very exciting. Everything, the visual of course was like super fun.
Yeah. At Napa City Nights, you know, it's all cement around, so you know, I'm sure you can't get into too much trouble, right? So yeah. Tell me, so have you been writing new music, working on a new album?
Yes, I do have new music coming out soon. I have a new music video coming out for Come to Me. Just filmed it. Got one more day of filming to come, I think in a week or so, and it's filmed in here in California in Livermore wine country. And I'm super excited. It's like it's close to getting the full edit, but just needs one more round of shooting. So that's going to be out early August. And I'm wrapping up an album for the winter, hopefully the end of 2021, maybe early 2022. And I think it's going to be called Breaking All the Rules. Sometimes I change the names, but that's kind of the title. I think I'm going to go with it. And I'm super excited. I put out songs, but I haven't put out an album in like a while. So I want it to be really good though. So I'm trying to be patient and not, you know, jump any steps that I feel like are going to make it to the best possible album and everything. So yeah, soon, and hopefully by the end of this year.
Are you looking at EP, LP? And how's the music?
I think either EP or maybe an album, and it's going to have my newer songs on it that are not on my previous. It's going to have Girl on Fire, Man's World, Come to Me. It's going to have Breaking All the Rules, one of the songs. And then I'm kind of keeping the rest under wraps as a surprise. But yeah, I think it'll either be a shorter album or a longer EP. I'm not sure. I would love to print some LPs, like the records or whatever, just as a do a batch of limited edition or something. But I don't know yet. That would be fun. So maybe that's kind of a dream of mine to do that for one of the next albums, and maybe this one. So yeah. Do you have a record player? Would you get something like this?
You know, I never got into vinyl.
Yeah.
So I didn't. That whole phase missed me.
Me too.
Completely.
I'm like, I know it's making a comeback, and I love records as like to hold them and to feel them, but I always, you know, I usually either have CDs or just, you know, streaming or whatever online. So, but
yeah. Once in a while, I'll still be like, I just bought a CD, which I don't buy many of, but I used to buy a lot of CDs, right? But I just bought I bought Bleacher's new album on CD, even though the only CD player I have now is in my car, right? So
that's exactly whatever. Yeah, everyone has them in their cars. So
yeah. So unfortunately only digital myself now,
Yeah.
but I get that, love for holding it and everything. I just never went that way. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's a whole new world in these days. So
yeah. So you have a lot of Bay Area shows lined up. Any tour beyond the Bay Area planned after? I mean, you have a lot of shows ahead of you. So
yeah, it's looking like an awesome summer. Mostly is pretty much Bay Area, like the Sonoma County Fair is coming up. I think the farthest one, I was gonna have a show in Shasta, but it was just not it wasn't quite fitting with the tour schedule, or it was a little bit too far for the next day, the day after. So still kind of holding off and but I'm hoping to do some like Oregon to LA tour coming up, and that's kind of what I'm looking at, possibly get over to maybe Tahoe, that area. But I would love maybe like next year to do maybe some flight dates of like get into, I would love to go back to like Denver. I have some Canadian fans who are like, you have to come up for these festivals. So that would be really amazing to get up there. New York is a place I'd love to get over and do like a week of shows or something. And yeah, there's kind of a lot more planning to go into that, but I'm hoping to get some tour dates going that are further out, and that would be tons of fun.
yeah, what's your favorite venue in the Bay Area?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Oh man. I'm excited for the view, like for the view tonight with being on the water. That's a very pretty, especially for the people watching. I mean, I don't get to appreciate that whole scene, but I think it's, with the whole amphitheater, I love kind of cool outdoor venues. So that's one that I really like. Um, Man, I don't know. I'm excited for a show that I have coming up that's a really like very cool music venue in Berkeley. I have a show in October at the Berkeley Back Room, and that's October 16th, I think. So that's what I'm excited like for the vibe. It's like you have super comfortable chairs and couches that it holds around like 100 people, so it's intimate but not like tiny too, and has just like a nice stage area and everything. So that's one I'm looking forward to. I just performed at the Clarion Performing Arts Center in San Francisco, and that was one that I really loved. It was another very like nice and intimate. It was held around 60 people, but it was like a full house and everything, and just beautiful. They did a really nice sound system, really nice stage area, so they did it up well, and that's a lot of it is just what is put into the venue, and the people that show up just kind of make or break anything, so yeah, those are the ones that come to mind, but it's a hard choice.
That's really cool. My favorite's the Fillmore. So
the Fillmore's cool. The Warfield's cool too. That's one that would be
the
fun
Warfield's good.
like their like opera house feel, like I love that.
Yeah. So as we wrap, one other thing I wanted to hit you with, like it was really kind of interesting. I don't know that I've heard from many musicians that have this skill as well. You were at a point going to go into aviation. You've done some flying.
Yeah, I was really into I was trading music lessons for this kind of like kind of a family friend for in exchange for flying lessons, and so I got really into it. I was like kind of, that was my plan B, and maybe keep it on the side or something like that. And yeah, I had tons of fun doing it, but I just, after going off to Berkeley, it was just it's very expensive to keep and I just had a very lucky opportunity to get in and to get like soloed out and everything, and it was I had like 80 hours, I think, something like that. And I still kept my logbook, but yeah, I think it's just a good story for the past. But it was something that I really, really had a passion for when I was doing it.
That's a cool opportunity too.
Yeah,
a cool thing to have. So.
Definitely couldn't agree more.
Well, Michelle, I want to thank you for taking the time today, and I'm looking forward to the show tonight. So it'll be good.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you. You're a good hang.
That was the interview with Michelle Lambert here on Concert Pipeline. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment of the program. What is it? Well,
it is time to discuss some music news, where we talk about what is going on in the music world today. That is right.
We each have a couple of stories. I'll start by saying, yeah, get out there and see Michelle Lambert live. She's playing all over the Bay Area, so really an awesome performer. So check that out. We got one more song from her at the end of the show. All right, first story ends, and this is probably the most important news that that is out there right now. Kanye West is putting out a new album called Donda, and you've heard. But
so we skip the story.
But this isn't at all about
Go
the
ahead.
album, I don't think. I mean, this is really, something that's important related to the album. Someone is selling a bag of air from Kanye West's Donda listening event.
What?
I don't give a shit about the album, but this story was, was fun. And I think he was living at the stadium that he's like putting it together at or something. Like I read that too. I read a lot of Donda news, but this one was the one that was most interesting.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. This fan claims that this is air from the rapper's recent listening event for his long-awaited new album. I can't even read it. Thursday night, July 22nd, West took over Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which I think, again, is where he was living for a little while, to preview his 10th album, playing the project, which includes a new collaboration with Jay-Z, to a packed house, like a stadium. This is a stadium that's full of fans that you go there just to listen to an album, and the dude is freaking there. Kanye West is there, I guess, but they're just playing the album, like play, sort of thing. And there's 50,000 people in a stadium just for him to push play on an album. It's nuts.
Wait a minute. There's a stage. Is anything happening on the stage?
I have no idea. One fan in attendance is now trying to make some money from the event. eBay listing from user Immacanon 16 cans, who has 100% positive feedback, is doing the rounds online as it claims to be selling air from Ye's listening party. The starting price for the Ziploc bag full of oxygen from the event, you want to know?
I'm just gonna guess it's more than the ticket.
I hope $3,300. The listing is titled "Bag of Air from Donda Drop Last One Official Kanye West Mercedes-Benz Stadium." Includes an image of a small plastic bag being held up at the event. The bag features a label that reads "Air from Donda Drop." There's 5 days left to bid on the bag of air, which currently sits at $2,125.01, with 6 bids made in total.
What?
This is nuts, Ed. This is nuts.
These got to be these must be people that have so much money that this is just like $5 and they're doing it as a joke.
These are the type of people that buy NFTs and spend millions of dollars on the first NFT of New York Times article or something. Look at the current price of this right now. Can you see that?
My God. That's just under $4,000.
Just under $4,000 as of right now, the recording of this this program. So that's insane. There's no way people are paying that.
Dude, yeah, no, seriously, it's got to be either some insane person or some wealthy individual where that amount of money is nothing and they're just doing it, as a joke.
A number of similar listings have started to pop up on eBay. Surprise, surprise.
I was there too. I got a bag. I was there too. I got a bag. Really? My bag's bigger. 25% more air for the same price.
This person appears to be the most in demand. Yeah, this isn't the first time either that a Kanye fan has tried to make some cash by selling bagged air from one of his music events. In 2015, someone made over $60,000 from an eBay listing selling air from Yeezy's Yeezus tour, according to Rolling Stone. So, and Donda apparently got pushed back a week, so I think it's coming out next week or something, something along those lines. But I don't.
So I'm just trying to visualize what happens. Like, okay, the person buys it, they win it, right? They win the highest bid, and then the seller has to send them this bag of air. And then hopefully, the airbag doesn't pop on the way over or anything, but then you get the air, and then what do you do with it? You put it in like a glass case, or do you have a cool little viewing glass case and you open the bag and you like drop the air in it and close it?
I think what you do is you get a bigger bag and then you put the bag in the bigger bag along with your head. And I'll stop there. I think that's what you do because you're a moron. I think that's how that works.
Christ. Maybe they're gonna swallow the bag. It's like, oh my God, it's like I was there. I've consumed the experience. It's in me. It's like in me.
It's in you. Yes, that's it. That's it. It's ridiculous. You got a story for us. Hit it.
Yes, this story is much shorter. Let's talk about Bono and U2 and maybe just a hint of future things to happen.
Okay.
So some people are wondering if this is the end of U2.
No.
Bono says the band is going away now, quote unquote, going away now. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. So anyway, he alluded to what might be the end of U2 speaking on stage at the final date of the band's Experience Plus thing that they did. And that was a tour that they finished in Berlin.
Okay.
I think that's what that was. Okay, hold on. There's no back button on my browser.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, Jesus, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. You got to give it away. Okay.
No, seriously, there's like no back button. Where did it go? I can't go back to the actual story. Okay,
you need me to
hold on.
pick up?
No, just gotta go back. Stop on the link again. Okay. But you know what?
What?
If Bono wants to go solo and kind of do his own thing,
yeah,
apparently the band is not only okay with that, but they're encouraging it.
All right. Wow.
Yeah. U2 has also hinted that they might have some acoustic releases coming soon.
He's done his own solo stuff before, right? I mean, I feel like he's done some solo stuff. Maybe not a whole album or anything along those lines, but
maybe. Yeah, I can't think of anything, but possible.
He's done other collaborations at least, but
yeah. Let me think. Did he do anything with Michael Jackson? It's like everybody did something with Michael Jackson.
I remember years ago, and this is like 20 plus years ago at this point, but he did the Marvin Gaye "What's Going On" collaboration with a bunch of other artists. He was a part of that. I mean, I'm sure he's done other stuff, but go ahead. What else you got in the story?
Well, basically all the members said they would support Bono if he decided to go solo and do a solo record, but there's no talk about Bono having a desire to do that. It's just the band is
they're just like,
saying that they support. I know, and I'm trying to read between the lines, and it's like, okay, so Bono hasn't said anything about leaving the band, but all the band members are encouraging him to leave the band. Like, are they sick of him or what? Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, they're not done though, right? I mean, because I'm in looking at this article, it looks like they have some other stuff that's coming up, or different versions of the older stuff, at least that they're.
Yeah. So it's about the acoustic releases. Some of one acoustic release that might be coming up is going to be a soundtrack for Sing 2. I don't even know what that is. What was Sing 1?
I think it's a kids movie or something.
All right. They say we've been doing acoustic versions of some of our catalog in different keys and different tempos, just as a challenge. They have a track on the next Sing 2 movie. Okay. All right. Look forward to that. So the Edge revealed that U2, they were working on new music before the pandemic hit. I was actually working on some new songs with Bono, he said on a BBC radio show, before explaining that he and Bono were in Dublin, penning new material before they had to go their separate ways due to the lockdown, and I guess now they just want to get rid of Bono. So.
Right, it's time to go. It's just stay in Dublin. Sorry, there's a virus. We can't come out there, right? So
yeah, totally. So we'll have to see. You know, it's kind of ambiguous, but we'll just have to see. I'm a little, I guess, ambivalent. You know, I don't want to be too excited about another U2 album because I just feel like it's going to be one more thing that just sort of sounds the same.
right.
So if they do release another album, I think it should be, you know, something awesome that's different, or just go back to their roots. You know, try to go back to the earlier stuff.
I don't know that we need another U2 album right now, and I'll tell you another band that I don't think we need to hear any more about is My Next Story, and that is Stone Temple Pilots. Which is interesting. Yes, you're giving me a perplexed look, and I had the same sort of thing when I was looking at this story before, because I'm like, okay, so I'll give the story, but then I'll give where my mind's at with it. The Stone Temple Pilots' Robert DeLeo hinted at the band returning to the road for more live shows during a recent interview with Audacity Check-In. He was on the show last week to discuss the 25th anniversary of STP's album Tiny Music, Songs from the Vatican Gift Shop, which they're celebrating with a deluxe reissue that hit stores last Friday. They've already announced that they're going to be performing at Sturgis Buffalo Chip on August 9th, and this year's Welcome to Rockville on November 11th in Daytona Beach. And so he's saying that they can't wait to hit the road. It's great because their first show is in Sturgis. They're excited about that place, I guess. But what's interesting to me is, okay, so Scott Weiland, the original singer for Stone Temple Pilots, you know, he died by overdose. Chester Bennington took over. I saw Stone Temple Pilots probably around 2015 with Chester Bennington at the front. Just not really the same, having Linkin Park's lead singer taking over for Stone Temple Pilots, but then he died, you know. There's no other frontman that I'm aware of, you know, unless one of the other members of the band took over, and I may have missed it. But I looked at their Wikipedia page. Both, you know, it's just the four guys, and so I'm like, they're not going to draw a crowd. You know, they could get a crowd with Chester because he's freaking Chester Bennington, the lead singer of one of the biggest bands in the world, right? But he's not around anymore to lead Stone Temple Pilots. So why don't we just hang it up and say, okay, 90s grunge rock can stop, you know? And
right, enough is enough. You know, Stone Temple Pilots, I got two things to say about this. Stone Temple Pilots is one of those bands that I always thought was kind of a one-hit wonder that just sounded a lot like, you know, other grunge bands. You know, it could have been Pearl Jam or something.
Yeah.
I never really got into their music that much because I don't know. I just wasn't as excited about it as, you know, I was about the music for other you know, big name grunge band people. But don't give up on them. Don't give up on them. I mean, if they want to go live, I think there is a legitimate candidate who's proven himself as being able to step in.
You're talking Axel Rose?
Singer. Yes, I'm talking Axel Rose. I think Axel Rose can step in and be the lead singer of the Stone Temple Pilots because he's done it with AC/DC and he kicked ass, and he just needs to change his theme a little bit, you know, do that little grunge thing, get away from the rock and roll to the grunge thing, and as long as he doesn't freaking kill himself, because obviously that's a little bit of a curse with
you don't think that he's gonna fall into this cursed man at this point?
Let's hope not. Yeah, no, let's hope not.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think Guns N' Roses is a little busy right now, so I don't think he'll be taking over on that band. But he was able to juggle both at the same time for a little while, and good for him. So yeah, you got one more story for us, Jens.
I do. You know, I think we've talked a couple of times about what it's like to, you know, as a fan to go to a show, you know, of one of your beloved artists who's passed away, but you get to kind of experience it all over again as that artist being a hologram.
Yeah.
Well, we have a new, we have the resurrection basically of Whitney Houston coming to Vegas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I was never a huge Whitney Houston fan. I mean, she has got some amazing talent, but if I ever happen to be in Vegas, I might go check this one out. So here's the gist. Whitney Houston hologram tour to get a Las Vegas residency. I don't know, where's the residency?
It's not even a tour if it's a residency. It's just a stage
right?
show, right? Like
Exactly.
Tour means you change locations.
Yeah, it's maybe it changes from one casino to the next along the strip, all the way up, all the way down, or maybe the hologram, does a show someplace outside of Vegas, and that's how they can call it a tour. They just do one show maybe in Reno.
Right.
Anyway, okay, so this was debuted in 2020 and was set to open in Vegas late last year until the virus, fucked everything up like it did. But the show's still going to happen. It's going to feature holograms from all stages of Whitney's career alongside backup singers, dancers, and musicians. The Vegas residency will begin on October 26th at Harrah's, right there in the showroom, and will run until April 30th, 2022.
That is a long time, man. That's a long time for that to be around. So I guess there's a lot of money to be made off of Whitney.
So October to April, right?
Wow. Okay. Well.
Okay. So tickets are available now on Ticketmaster. I wonder if they're also coming up some sort of hologram form, and you can use hologram money.
You can use a holographic ticket. Yeah.
Hologram ticket. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. That's pretty cool. I think there's something really cool to be said about that, because it's gotten to the point, where it kind of looks realistic. It's not just this old hologram thing that used to come on National Geographic magazines or something, and you're like, oh, this is a really cool butterfly, but it's this three-dimensional thing on stage, and it's pretty damn cool.
I haven't seen it myself. I haven't seen a hologram show, but for all the work they put into it, I'm sure it probably is decent. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I got one more story for you, Jens, to close us out, and unfortunately, is not about Dave Grohl this week. It is a quiet week for Dave Grohl news. But in lieu of Dave Grohl, I'll give you Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, right on.
Yes.
What's he doing?
He's reportedly working on new music with Jeff Beck. They're recording material for Beck's new album. And according to the Daily Mail, the actor and Hollywood Vampires musician is teaming up with Beck to record material for the Hi-Ho Silver Lining album. They've been collaborating on material. It's been great for Johnny to get back to his first true love, which is music. This source also added, Jeff has been a great friend to Johnny during a very difficult time, and being away from Hollywood has been exactly what Johnny needed. And it comes after Depp lost his libel case against The Sun last year. He'd been suing newspapers, and The Sun's executive director, Dan Wooten, over an April 2018 article which referred to him as a wife beater in relation to allegations from ex-wife Amber Heard, claims that he had strongly denied. It didn't sounds like it didn't go very well for him. But he's going to be making some new music, so he'll be doing some more.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. Well. Yeah. What do you say about that?
I don't really have anything to say about that.
That's fine. We can close it out here. So like I said, we're going to close it out with one more song from Michelle Lambert's show at Napa City Nights. This is a cover that she did of Devil Went Down to Georgia, where she slays on the violin. And
that is a fabulous song, man. And I am so happy that she took that one on. That's a challenge.
Yeah. She's done a really good cover of it. And there's an awesome, she has a recording of it on her YouTube page, not of this performance, but she did actually put up one of the performances that I recorded on her YouTube. But she has a recording of Devil Went Down to Georgia that has like over 130,000 views on YouTube. So
That's killer.
So it's it's a really great cover, and you're going to hear it right now. Next week on the program, we have either Hush Kids or Yumi and Everyone We Know. I haven't decided yet, but we have both of those interviews coming up. That's our show. For all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that's Jen Schippel.
And that's Steve Jones.
Here is Michelle Lambert. We'll see you next week.
Down to Georgia, he was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind, he was way behind, he was willing to make a deal. When he came across this strong girl song, the fiddle playing it hot, and the dope on the hickory stump said, "Girl, let me tell you what, I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you care, dig a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now you play a pretty good fiddle, girl, but give the devil his dues. I'll bet a fiddle of gold against your soul, cause I think I'm better than you. Yeah, my name's Michelle, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet and you're gonna regret, cause I'm the best it's ever been. Rising up your bow and play your fiddle high, cause I was broke loose in Georgia and the devil deals in cards. If you win, you'll get this shiny fiddle made of gold, but if you lose, the devil gets your soul. The devil opened up his case and he said, "I'll start the show." Fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow. And he pulled the bow across the strings and it made an evil hiss. And a band of demons joined on in and it sounded something like this. When the devil finished, all she said was, "You're pretty good, old son. Yeah, but sit down in that chair right there. Let me show you how it's done." Fire in the mountain, rumbles on. Devils in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in the bread, bad, picking out dough. Green is the dog, but no channel. Alright, I want to hear you guys on the count of 3. Scream as loud as you can. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Alright. Here we go. The devil bowed his head, cause he knew that he'd been beat. And he laid that golden fiddle on the ground at her feet. And the girl said, "Devil, just come on back if you ever want to try again. I done told you once, you son of a gun, I'm the best it's ever been." Fire in the mountain, rumbles on. Devils in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in the bread, bad, picking out dough. Granny's a dog, but no child, no.